Today we're going to be doing an overview of the Smart Espresso Profiler, or SEP, which attaches onto different types of espresso machines and gives you all this data information that you can help improve your shots with. So we're going to be going over that, what it looks like, how it works, and how it could benefit you in your espresso making game at home. This channel, Kabin's Coffee Corner, is designed to help you guys choose the gear that you want to use to brew with at home. There's a lot of different options of gear you can purchase, so my goal is to compare that stuff for you so you can have an informed decision when you go out and buy the stuff that you want, so you don't have any regrets on the equipment that you purchase. To help me continue to produce these videos and get these comparisons and get the gear that I need to make these comparisons, I ask that you do a couple things. The first two things are free, and I ask you to subscribe and like this video. This helps me produce more content and get it out to more people and have more of an impact and help people make more informed decisions when purchasing the gear. The second thing I ask you to do is please purchase any of your gear using the links below. The links below are affiliate links where I'll get a slight commission at no extra charge for you. So when you're going out to purchase this gear, if you use my links, it'll help me produce more videos and buy more gear to compare for you and for others to help purchase their equipment. And all it takes is you simply buying your gear through my links, which isn't going to raise the cost at all for you, but it's only going to help me out. The next thing I ask that you consider doing is supporting me on Patreon. Patreon will give you the opportunity to help me choose what kind of videos I'm going to do, have your input on what you want to see and what reviews you want to help, as well as a chance to win free gear that I will be reviewing on this channel. So thank you for considering all those options, and I got some exciting stuff coming up, so please subscribe. One of the things I'm going to be doing here shortly is I'm going to be comparing the Flare Pro 2 and the Robot Espresso Maker. There's not a ton of videos out there on that, so I'm excited to see the results on that. So subscribe and stay tuned for that. But now let's go ahead and dive into the Smart Espresso Profiler. So we're going to attach it to the Flare, and what we're going to do that is we're going to take the standard pressure gauge that comes with the Flare Signature or Flare Pro 2. And you're just going to unscrew that gauge, and you are going to, there we go, it's getting there. And you're going to take the SEP or Smart Espresso Profiler, and you're simply just going to thread that back into the stem that holds the pressure gauge for the flare. And that's as simple as it is to hook it up and get it set up for your flare. To do this, you're going to only need a Smart Espresso Profiler, but you're also going to need a scale, and you're going to need a scale specifically made by Akaya. So you can use the Pearl, which doesn't really fit under the flare, so that leaves your options with the Lunar at 225 or the Cinco/Pixit scale at 250, which is a little bit better option and fits a little bit better on the flare. The cost of this thing, and this is where it gets a little crazy, the cost of the Flare Pro is currently at $310, making it a great, decent, entry-level espresso machine and gives you a lot of control. Adding the Smart Espresso Profiler on it is going to be an additional $500, but then you're going to have to pay another $30 to ship it to America. So you're adding $530 to your flare, that's $310, plus you're going to add a $250 scale, which gives it quite the cost factor. So you're looking at $780 to add to your $300 espresso machine, which makes it just under $1,100 espresso setup that you'll be brewing with to use this SEP. So the SEP has an app on the App Store, and you can find that on the Apple App Store or the Android App Store, and you can use it on either or devices. The nice thing about the SEP is one of the things you can do with it is you can hook this thing up to different espresso machines. So I could take this to a robot and theoretically make the same shots. It uses the same software. They now use the software for decent espresso machines, if you're familiar with those. So basically it allows you to pull a shot on here and duplicate it on a different machine. But if you only have one machine, so if you just had the Flare Pro 2, what this will allow you to do, and what is really, really beneficial in my time with this, is simply just the opportunity to duplicate your shots. So if you pull a really, really good shot of espresso, and maybe you are at 9 bars and you pre-infuse for 20 seconds, and then you drop down to 6 bars, and then you do slow curve downward from that, it's going to be hard to remember all that information. So you can go onto the app and click a button and basically duplicate that shot exactly how you had before. It'll allow you to notice if your grind setting's a little off, if your distribution is a little off, and make you basically it'll help you make the best espresso possible with this very capable machine. So let's go ahead and pull a shot with this. And on the screen you're also going to see what is on my phone and what I'm going to be using to pull the shot. So let me get that set up for you here in just a second. Alrighty. Okay, so on my phone, you should be seeing this right now, there's different little features on this. There's options where you can, whoops, that was accidentally a button to send them feedback and different things. But you can have it show the pressure, all these different things in here. So what you're looking at right now is just a default thing, and right there under the start button, which is in the top right hand corner, you will see a little gauge, which that's going to be giving you live espresso shots. Underneath of that, you're going to see the Smart Espresso Profiler and the scale that you need to connect to in order to pull a shot. Once both of those are lit, you are good to go for that. You're going to see the weight on the right hand side of the chart, the time on the bottom, and the pressure on the left hand side, and the charts are going to give you the stats in there. In here you can see all of your devices that you can hook up to. So I got the Cinco there. If I added my Pearl in there, you could see that pop up. The Fellow, I don't really know why that's connected to it, but that is my Fellow Stag EKG Plus kettle that is in there. And then you can go ahead and view all of your history of shots, and you can star your favorites and things like that. So I can click on, this one's from September 20th. And I can see that my dose was 17.9 grams and 37.7 grams out of espresso. I can do an overview and see that exact chart and see how it went. So I can see the pressure in the red there and the weight in the brownish black there, and it can kind of give me my ratio of the flow rate, grams per second, the grams in, the grams out, as well as the brew ratio, which was 210. So it's a little more than 1.2 or 1:2 brew ratio. You can save it as an image, share with a photo, and share with a friend to kind of do that. You can also delete and add in there. They also had a couple of other things in here. So this one is a simply just a guide that they made it for you with Hario V60, so you can even do pour over with this. I've never really messed around with that. I've mainly just used it for espresso. So we are going to take this shot and we're going to set it as a reference. And then we're going to go back to the brew method of here. And I'm going to set my dose to 18 grams. Or whatever you prefer, but this shot particularly is 18 grams. And then what we're going to do is, you can see that Smart Espresso Profiler went ahead and connected there. I'm going to go ahead and take my scale and put it underneath my cup on my flare. Okay, so I had some technical difficulties recording this next part. I forgot to hit the screen record on my iPhone. So what I did is I re-pulled this shot, but I pulled it a little bit better, but my grind size was off. I was a little bit too coarse on the grind size, so you'll see the shot finish a little sooner. So what you'll be seeing live on the screen will go with the shot, but it won't actually be what I'm pulling in the screen. However, you will see a screenshot version of what the actual shot looked like that I'm about to pull. So sorry for this inconvenience. If that confused you at all or anything like that, feel free to drop any questions or comments or concerns in the comment box below. And again, that's just on me as a user's fault, not the SCP or anything like that. It was simply I forgot to click screen record on my iPhone. Thank you. A hand on there. And you can go ahead and start seeing the pre-infusion stage right there, the time and the weight that's going on, and the brew ratio currently in the flow out per second. And we're going to try and duplicate this shot as best as possible. And I'm going to ramp up in pressure, which is very hard to do sitting down. Alright, so a little morning workout for you. You can see about 17 grams of weight. It goes pretty quickly, pretty smoothly. This is going to be a good example of a shot going wrong. And now I'm going to drop off, and there is that shot of espresso. And you're going to stop it right there, and you're going to see this chart. Now we're going to talk about this chart here for just a moment. Now when you look at the chart before, you can see kind of how the grams out, the chart behind it that we are following the flow rate of, the grams out were pretty smooth, versus mine, it's pretty going up and down, which that's for a number of things. It's a number of things from the fact that I was brewing like this, and my arm was basically kind of going like this quite a bit because it was hard to brew shot sitting down. So you can see that in the pressure going up and down and spiking quite a bit. But also part of that can simply be just from my lack of distribution. So it's going and passing through different parts of the puck a little bit quicker than others, which means I need to do a better job of breaking up those clumps in my grind before I brew a shot. So this isn't going to taste exactly what it's supposed to based off of this chart, but it will allow me to see how close I was to it. And without this, you wouldn't be able to see that. You wouldn't be able to see the pressure of me going like this, which is probably pretty easy to do with a manual machine, not have a perfect flow of pressure going on the entire time. You also wouldn't be able to see these little spikes and drips and stuff like that. You'd only be able to notice what is different based off of the naked portafilter that comes with the flare. So there's a lot of benefits to having the SEP. There's a lot of benefits to understanding it. However, at the price point of, I'm just going to say the price point is $530 because you should have a scale. A lot of people don't have necessarily the Akai Lunar or the Akai Pixis, which makes sense because they're hefty scales, but a lot of us also do. A lot of us spent a lot of money on a scale early on. So when I think of who is this for, and why would you want to buy it? Do I regret making the purchase on this? First off is I just want to say a shout out to Gabar and the team at Naked Espresso. They do a phenomenal job of customer service overseas. They've helped me with all of my questions getting this set up for the flare. I actually ended up buying this SEP used. I was one of the rare opportunities of actually finding one of these that somebody didn't keep. It was a kind of a sad situation on how that worked out that I'm not going to go into the details of, but I got this at a good price, and they did a very, very good job of helping me get the correct fitting. And by fitting I mean if you unscrew the SEP, you will see right there that there's this extra screw-on piece, and this allows you to adapt to all these different machines, from a Cremina or a Robot or the Flare or a lot of other machines that I really haven't had a chance to mess with. But he helped me get the right fitting, he shipped it right, he was super nice, he helped me get the batteries, helped me answer all my questions before I even bought it, and he didn't make a ton of money off of me because I already had the SEP and I bought it used. However, when I look at the construction, when I look at the cost of all this stuff, doing an app is super expensive and cost a lot. Creating and getting the parts for these super niche machines, like, there's not a ton of people that are going around having this $500 attachment on this $310 machine. They're not making a ton of money off of it because it costs so much to produce. This thing alone is worth a lot more than I paid for it just in parts. That's why it's so expensive. And when I look at who would buy this and why you would want to buy this, is you would want to buy this for a couple reasons. One, if you are super into science and understanding your extractions and want the best absolute possible shot you can get, you should buy a really nice grinder, and you should buy one of these because this is going to allow you to get all the information that you want to buy. If this flare or something similar is a machine that you just want until you can afford the money for a dual boiler or heat exchanger machine, which there's pros and cons to that. One of those is you don't get near as much control on a lot of those machines as you do with the flare. But if that's your goal, if that's your end goal of getting a machine that has a boiler and has a pump and all that stuff in there, then you're probably not going to want to drop $500 on this. But for somebody who's planning on staying in manual espresso for a while, planning on using the flare, planning on maybe buying the upgrades when they come out there, then this is something that's worth it for you. For me, I love this thing. I don't use it every single day. I have multiple other machines that I use out there, but this is a really good piece of machine. You can buy this extra fitting to put on different machines is about $50 plus, again, $30 shipping for any order that you do. Roughly, don't quote me on that. It can change based off of where you live, but that's what it cost me. But I can get a different fitting for different things, so I'm going to be purchasing a fitting for my robot here soon, so I can do a better comparison of pulling the exact same shot from the flare to the robot and see the taste differences, which I'm really excited to see. But this has been a great tool of helping me grow my understanding of espresso, and for me, planning on trying to avoid milk drinks as much as possible just because of all the unhealthiness that can come with it. My plan is just to brew the best straight shots of espresso I can, which is going to come from a machine like the Flare that's going to give me the control. But most importantly, it's going to be coming from the machine that's coming out soon, that we don't know much about, that Flare is working on, and that's going to be reviewed up here. But this is going to help me get to my end goal game of espresso, which I don't know if that's ever really a thing and how much that's going to change. But adding a nice grinder and keeping up to date with whatever manual machine is out there and slapping this on there is going to give me some phenomenal shots to duplicate and give me great control. It's also great if you manage to convince a friend to have it and you can compare shots and send them to each other and have some fun that way. There's a lot of features that this app has that I really don't understand. There's a lot more that goes into this. I'm new to this, but it's been a great joy of using and understanding this, and I want to give a shout out. I'm not making any commission off of the link below if you do buy one of these, but I ask that you really continue to support people like Naked Espresso and Gabar, who have put so much work into making this device for the Flare and for all these other machines so that we can produce the best quality cup of coffee. Now these people are the people that's going to keep this industry moving forward, that's going to keep pushing the Flare forward. I believe, and Flare can correct me on this, but I believe that Gabar and Naked Espresso were the ones who actually made the first pressure gauge for the Flare, and then they produced this out along with it. So we can thank people like them for making us realize the possibility of putting a pressure gauge on the Flare, which we all have come to know and love if we have owned one in the past. So thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and thank you for supporting me as a YouTuber and content creator. I'm excited to see how 2021 will look for this channel. Thanks for watching.